Well, hello, welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining me. So today we've got part 3 of the workshop improvements, and as you can see here we've got a stash of timber, all very exciting. Basically it's a bittersweet day today. I'm putting the stud wall up at last in between the two parts of the workshop just here, so check out the general sort and tidy in the first 2 videos. So a quick update as well, I've also sold my wheel balancer, my tyre changer, a couple of bike stands, my parts washer. So in the earlier videos I said that I was having a bit of a sort out and actually using some money from selling some of the tools I don't need. Oh, my sandblasting equipment has gone as well. So yeah, using some of that money to buy some materials, and it's, as I say, bittersweet slightly because having spent an extra week waiting for the racking to arrive that took about 7 or 8 days instead of 2 just to get things out of the way, I then had to wait nearly a week for the materials to arrive. And I've got some stud work here. I've also got obviously the plasterboard nails. We've got some 8x4 sheets of plasterboard and some door framing and all the rest of it as well outside at the moment. But as I say, it's a bit frustrating because having waited nearly a week for this to arrive, and it only had to come about 100 yards up the road. We bought it not from a main retailer. In the UK we don't really have things like Home Depot per se and things like that. We do have some sort of DIY builder merchanty sort of places, well 2 really, only one really sells timber I guess really in mainstream, and that's Wicks, and in my experience their wood is absolutely terrible quality. So I actually opted to buy some from the timber merchants just down the road, and they couldn't deliver it for nearly a week, and it's been wall to wall sunshine all week and I've not been able to crack on. Anyway, it's finally turned up today. There was an issue with the delivery as well, because they'd put my delivery on the bottom even though it was the first drop, so I had to help the guy unload all the kits and get my stuff off, and then help him reload half of the other stuff that he had to deliver today. And it looks like it's about to rain outside as well, so now I'm going to be out here cutting all this timber in and out and having, like I say, wall to wall sunshine for nearly a fortnight and not being able to do anything in here. It looks like the one day I need to be outside I've got to be covering up my big sheets of plasterboard and covering up my saw, so I'm hoping I'm going to get away with it. But also it's really bent, some of it is like proper banana shaped as well, so I've got to sort some of that out and use the best pieces. Anyway, I'm whittering on. This was supposed to be a quick intro, but suffice it to say, we've got the stud work here, we've got the plasterboard, we've got the plasterboard screws, and I'm hoping I can put the wall together to some sort of decent standard with the pretty bowed and bent timbers. There's nothing worse than starting building a wall knowing that the end result could be all over the place because the timbers are all wobbly. But fortunately, like I say, I've got big 8x4 sheets of plasterboard, so I shouldn't need too many cuts. We might be able to lose some of the deformation in the side of the walls a little bit as well. Anyway, I've marked out the line of where the wall plate and indeed the sole plate and what have you were going to go on the floor, just down there. Got some chalk lines and levels and what have you. And anyway, enough talking. Let's crack on and see what we've got to do. The only one thing just before I go in this intro is I've got to make sure we've got some electrics going through that side. As it happens, they've got to come back out because I'm putting some new electric sockets in this wall as well that I'm taking off of that one there. So I need to make sure I put a hole in the stud just to be able to take a take off from the electric cable on that one. Anyway, you'll see what I mean shortly. Okay, just a quick progress update before I have my first cup of coffee. I've turned the lights off. It might be a bit darker in here, but I've got fluorescent lights which we will be replacing in due course. I'll just show you, but they're a bit flickery on the camera, so I've just turned them off for a second. Anyway, I've got the wall plate on all the way down there. That's all bolted to the wall, as is the sole plate there. I've measured the gap that I need for the door and associated timber work, which is there, and also then dragged that through the rest of the sole plate and the wall plate just there. Now the timbers I think are 2.4 meters long, and unfortunately the room is about 3 meters, so that I can't quite do it in one go. So what I've done is I've just run a string line, a chalk line I should say, that I've just snapped across the ceiling there, so that gives me a line. So if I need to sort of join 2 pieces up, or at least aim one piece towards the other, I know where I'm going. So anyway, that's the first bit. This is just the messy bit, the awkward bit, bolting everything to the floors and stuff like that. Once we've got this bit done, filling them in and cutting the internal support studs is the quick and easy part. So just going to get this done now, have a coffee, back momentarily. There we go, so that's the head plate in now. I did have to cut the piece there, as I thought, about 1/2 metre long. I did actually tap that in friction fit and then screwed it in through the ends there and also into the wall plate. You can normally do this head plate and the sole plate at the same time and run verticals afterwards, but because I wanted to get this sole plate in for the door, I needed to make sure that it kind of ran plumb and nice and level up the walls first. And then I knew that the timbers weren't going to be long enough to go all the way across the top, so it was easier to join the tops of the wall plates afterwards, if that makes sense. Then that way, given the bow in the timbers anyway, and all the kind of warpedness as it were, at least now we know that it's going to be as straight a wall as we can get it. And so we've got some of the framing in, which is pretty cool, both sides of the doorway now. So what I've got here is a piece of timber which is actually the length of the door opening, the door, plus the 2 door liners, plus a few mil either side for the door itself. And I'm just making sure, it's hard to do one-handed, but you can just hear that tickling the sides and just missing it all the way down. Basically just making sure, a quick sanity check really, that everything is good before we start closing it up and putting the noggins in. But anyway, there we go, all good stuff. Okay, so there's day one. Got the framework up, and I've also pulled some power through into the wall from the other side, ready to do some electric work tomorrow. And in here we are now all boarded up, nice and neat and tidy. Across there, not many cuts at all, to be fair. That's all one piece there with just a little slither, about a 5-inch slither down the end. But yeah, really pleased with that overall, looking pretty good, certainly good enough for what we need. So anyway, I've got other stuff to do today. We've just sold some furniture, so we're just going to go and deliver that locally, about 7 or 8 miles away. But I've got a couple of quick jobs to do to it first before I can actually get it in the car. So I'm going to have a quick shower. All the tools are in because we're thinking it might rain later on. So there we go then, there's day one done, and pretty pleased with that. So tomorrow all I've got to do is basically run some sockets in. Like I say, got some power there already, so we're going to run that through the walls. I've got some pattress boxes I might have shown you the other day, but basically I've still got enough cable left. I've got a few drywall pattress boxes and some double gang sockets as well, so I'll get those in and then hopefully be able to close up and board up this side as well. Okay folks, well there's the wall up. I also came back in the evening and did the door as well, and for that basically put the door lining in and the stop, so that's all sorted. Also hung the door as well. There we go, if we can get it in focus. Gave it a good clean as well. If you remember, it was almost black. It had been left outdoors by the previous owner. We picked it up on Facebook Marketplace for £7. It was absolutely black and filthy, but it was straight and true, so it was worth. I did check that obviously first, and so let me just step back so we can try and see it in situ, like so. And also just notched into the door frame as well for a little keep, so that shuts beautifully. I did actually notch a bit out of the front of the door frame as well, because I thought I had a single latch strike plate that would bend around the actual frame. Turns out I didn't have one in the end. The one I had was a flat plate. I'll just show you. So just come into here, just like so. And this one also accepts a lock as well. Now there is a lock on this handle, but we haven't, it doesn't line up, so I'll probably just get a new strike plate that does fit that, but it does at least latch. And there, beautiful. You can probably tell the sound change as well as I come in. It's, I wouldn't say soundproof, but certainly a lot better. So there we go, door is in. Quick pan around, and as I might have mentioned yesterday, we've got power as well in this room now one just down there and one just down there, which I've already been using in fact for the for screwing and stuff around the door frame. So there we go. So next job, real quick, I say real quick, I want to now have a sort out of all my tools. I've got various sort of drill bits, raw plugs, bit of furniture in progress already over there. I'm going to tidy some of this mess away. I want to get that cupboard finally off the wall, because I think Rachel wants to have basically just like one workbench. I think this one here that we put the casters on, and so I'm going to take that one, I think, and back outside. I need to say outside really, but into here, and take some of that other racking back down now and put it up on that wall. I'm going to keep that bit of racking there because that is all, if I just come to the other side of the ladder, this stuff is all solid and level and works quite nicely there for what it is. The black plastic racking there was just temporary, it was left over from elsewhere, and I've been storing a few parts that I've got up for sale, car parts and stuff like that, so that they ultimately won't be needed, and I can use these bottom layers as actual worktop. So I'm going to get those down now, I think, and put that cupboard from the other side of the well, the other room I can call it now, up on the wall up there. So lots still to do. And we did have massive thunderstorms yesterday, so I had to bring a load of stuff back in, and so it looks a bit of a mess in here again, but it's all progress. It's breaking the eggs to make the omelette and all of that, so let's crack on. All change again, folks. I've moved a lot of the racking off of that corner, put some shelving back up over there, and then temporarily stacked the racking over there. This is what I mean about this whole project, is being moving stuff from one place to another to allow us to do something and then moving it back again. So to come through here into what will be the spray room, we've already had to start on some projects and so start using it, but obviously it's not a tenable position. The room isn't finished yet. We need to improve the lighting. I want to get some extraction in here. Plus also the compressor's still in the corner. I don't want like sucking in all the particles from the air. Plus also it's quite noisy and it takes up floor space, so I want to move it to the other side. And also we've moved that cupboard that was up on that wall. We decided to keep it in here, so we're gonna put a load of stuff in here. Well, actually it already has got a whole bunch of stuff in there anyway. We got loads of our paints and various kit and stuff up in here, so we're gonna sort all that out. But the job for today is basically to plaster this wall. So what I need to do now, I think, is move all the stuff off of this rack, get it out of the way somewhere, probably in this spray room for a minute, just out the way. That'll free up some space so I can get to it. And as I was saying, and probably has been saying all the way through this video, we've had wall-to-wall sunshine for a couple of weeks now, maybe 3 weeks, and by the time everything had arrived, we've had bad weather and it's pretty miserable and wet and raining out there now. So I'm now going to go out there and mix up all the plaster in the rain. It's always a joy. But anyway, let's crack on. Next time you see this wall, hopefully, he says, it should be nice and slightly pinker looking. So let's get on with it. And just very quickly before I start, I have also put some scrim tape now along all of the joints and all of the edges, like so. It should just help with minimizing the risk of any cracks. As I say, I've got only a few pieces of board on here. I've tried to do it in as few pieces as possible to minimize any cracking, but the timbers underneath were a little bit out of shape, to say the least. So hopefully that will just help to stop the top surface of plaster from cracking once everything is installed. Well, there we are, folks. Plastering is done. Pretty pleased with it overall. So did it a couple of days ago. It's dried out now pretty much, so that side's done. And then of course, as is this side in here for the spray room itself. So yeah, pretty good overall. Those of you that have followed the build, I'll just close the door, but those of you that have followed the build will know that we've been caught out by the British weather somewhat. So the racking took about 7 or 8 days to arrive, and it was only supposed to take 2 days. So I'll just show you it actually, because we're going to have a bit more of a sort out a bit later. So all this racking here arrived, it was actually ordered during almost a atypical sunny period here in England, and it was supposed to be here in 2 days. It took over a week, by which time the thunderstorms had built and I had to bring everything back in that I'd moved out ready to fit the rack in. So that was a bit of fun. Then I ordered the materials for this wall, all the stud work and the plasterboard and what have you. And again, it was a beautiful week, and I only ordered it from about 200 yards down the road. Well, obviously it was too big to go in the car, so it was delivered, but I had to wait nearly a week for it to arrive because of their delivery schedule. And as a result of that, having not sat around, but metaphorically been sat around waiting to build the wall for a week, it turned up on the first wet day we'd had in that week. And so anyway, I built the wall again then during some lovely weather. I needed to plaster it, and by the time the wall was built and I wanted to plaster it, the weather had changed to infrequent sort of, well, showers, sunny spells and showers all week. And I thought, well, there's no point waiting for a particularly clear day. I'll do the plaster work whilst it's nice. Whilst it's, you know, as nice as it's going to get or as bad as it's going to be. And it absolutely lashed it down with rain all day while I was doing it, all day. Miserable job. It should have been a fun job, but it ended up being soaking wet outside, trying to mix up the plaster in the bucket, dragging it all through, traipsing wet plastery prints and dust all the way through, washing the kit out in the soaking rain, soaked through from head to toe, and then doing it all again for the second coat of plaster. So it turned out to be miserable, and the best bit was the next 2 days have been absolutely gorgeous, been really warm. So much for the scattered sun and showers. Anyways, it's up. Now, the next thing, while I'm whittering on here, a bit of a monologue, I do apologise, is that we are needing to use this space, and you can see we've already started. I mean, that's some spray marks from some furniture that we had to do the other day. We need to crack on really, and so what I wanted to do, I think, is also paint this wall for no other reason that we've got stuff to do. We've got shelves to mount, the compressors going there. I want to put that great big old workmate that's down there up on the wall up there, because that looks like it's going to be a sensible place to put it. So really I want to paint the walls first, and I was going to do a nice job. I was going to finish it all off, put some skirting boards down there, get the architrave on and all of that. And I've just been having a look, and the price of timber now, even for trim pieces, is ridiculous, and it's going to cost about, well, anywhere really, depending on what I want, between 50 and £100 just to put some architrave around this door. The absolute cheapest I can find is our local timber supplier's Wicks in town, and even then, for like a bit of basic, very basic bullnose 2-inch bit of nasty pine, I know their stuff's always warped like bananas, even that's going to cost over £30 just to do the architrave on this door. So I think, well, we've just had a chat, Rachel and I, about it, and said, look, that wasn't really part of the plan at the moment. It's a shame. It would have been nice to have got it all finished right now, here and now, but you know, the idea of doing this whole furniture flipping and what have you is to add extra income. We're just not in a position. You know, we've got to buy a workshop vac, and we want to buy a dust extractor for in here. Obviously, you know, there's all the other tools, the brushes and, you know, miscellanea that we need for doing the job. Basically wasting sort of £30 to £50 or more on a bit of trim piece to go around the door. At the moment, we're just not in that position to do that, so we'll come back and do that in due course, but it's not critical for what we need to do. So anyway, today all I'm going to do is get some paint on the walls, I think, and that way at least we can start putting shelves up, and then we're going to call it a bit of a day, I think. In the next phase of this, what I'm going to do is put this compressor over here. That's going to go outside, as I say, into just the other side of this wall, and at some point what we will probably do is hardwire it. I'll tell you more about that when we do it, but the plan was to plumb it through the wall with copper fittings and have a pickup on this side of the wall. But what Rachel said, she likes the idea of having this whole space, if I just stand back, having this whole area to be able to spray in and not have to worry, like if we're facing this way, we've got all the cupboards and various tools and stuff like that, and obviously the door itself. So it makes more sense to spray in this half of the room. So she wants the hose to come through the wall over that side. So that basically means what I've got to do, sorry, getting a bit camera sick now, the compressor will be the other side of that room, because I'm going to run a compressor air line all the way round through there. That'll then pick up on the regulators and what have you on that side, and then we'll run the hose from there to be able to spray on this side. So that does mean buying an extra hose, even though that one's currently long enough. We'll buy a new line from the other side, and then we can pick up the regulators and gauges. We'll hook them up on the wall and just have a take off from that. You can see how filthy this compressor's getting already, just from overspray. So the sooner we get this out of here, the better, quite frankly. So yeah, as I was saying, basically I think today I'm just going to get a bit of paint on the walls, maybe a coat or two, depending on how we're doing for time. And that will allow me in due course to be able to start thinking about getting the compressor against that wall. It will enable me, as I say, we'll get the workmate on the wall. I've got step ladders and stuff like that, which are always handy to have, and there's a nice thin wall there, so I'll probably put the step ladder on there, then it won't get in the way of when we bring furniture in for spraying and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so lots and lots of talking, but just wanted to give you an idea of where we were at. This racking, this plastic racking, has been very handy, but I think I'm finally going to commit to cracking on with the tidy up now, and I'm just going to lose that to create some floor space. We've got other stuff we need to get rid of. There's some leftover bits and pieces from building the wall that we need to have a tidy up. These two down here, watch out for upcoming videos, because these are actually pieces of furniture that we are going to be working on in the very near future. So there we go, all good stuff. Right, lots and lots of talking, and yeah, okay, I'm just going to get some coats of paint on the wall, and then I think we'll call it a day for this phase of the operation. Well, there we go then, folks. There's the wall up and painted. A couple of coats of paint on there now, and that is dry. I will prime and paint the architrave at some point. I've also used some of that framing material just to make a token skirting board with a little 45-degree blend cut just on the ends just there. But yeah, that's pretty good. I'm really pleased with that. So we'll just take a quick look in the other room. I'm not sure if the camera will stay focused, because there's lots and lots of white in here, and it will confuse the camera's autofocus, no doubt, just as much as it confuses the operator. Right, here we go. So yeah, on the other side, as I say, there we go, all done, all complete, and happy days. Yep, pleased with that. Good stuff. All right, well now we've got a decent separate place to work. There's still lots to do. We're going to move the compressor finally. So that's going to go into the other side. We've got a workshop vac to get. We have a filtration system to clean the air. We do have windows there that do both open, so that will at least give us some ventilation for now. Also, we have respirators and stuff as well, which we're using for painting, because there is one piece of furniture just needed, if it will focus, just there. So do look out for the actual furniture that we're repairing and restoring as well. So yeah, we've got lots to do. Also improving the lighting as well. Stand by for a flickery fluorescent light, but there's a light bar up there. We're going to replace that with a couple of larger dual filament LEDs. So we're going to get some nice bright light in here, and it will be more of a daylight tone. So that'll be good. So yep, still lots to do, but at least we've now got the partition wall up, and we've got a space which we can start to keep separate from the rest of the workshop. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you found that interesting. Check out the other videos on the channel. Please subscribe and hit the notifications bell for updates. We've got paint reviews. We've got most of the furniture that we're going to be working on will be featured to some greater or lesser degree as well. So if you're interested in furniture flipping and that kind of thing, do check out the other videos. As I say, there's a small piece here. This is actually one of a pair of stag minstrel bedside cabinets, so all the rest of them are done. Drawers aligned, ironmongery is fitted. We just wanted to put an extra top coat on that particular one, which is why it's in here. So they're going to be up for sale very shortly. But anyway, I'm waffling on, so thanks very much for watching. I'll leave you with my rather dusty old compressor that needs to go next door now. So stay tuned, as I say, and we'll bring you some updates. Stay safe. All the best for now. Bye bye.